Hello and welcome to New Frontiers on CCTV International. I'm Ji Xiaojun in Beijing. The Chinese people consider themselves to be the descendants of Huangdi. Now, Huangdi, or the Yellow Emperor, is a shadowy figure, a hero who is said to have reigned about 5,000 years ago. In today's program, we are beginning a brand new series that will take us right back to the dawn of history as we explore the city of Zhuolu. Popularly known as the Huangdi city, Zhuolu is believed to be the backdrop to many fantastic stories about the ancient humans who established the first nation on Chinese soil.
On the flatlands north of Sanbu village in Fanshan town in the area of Zhuolu in Hebei province is the site of an ancient city. From the outside, the remaining parts of the city wall are a little over 10 meters high, around 10 meters wide at the base and 3 meters wide at the top, and they surrounded a city that was square in shape and about 500 meters long. The local people call the remains of this ancient city Huangdi City, meaning the city of the Yellow Emperor. The land within the walls of the ancient city was dug up decades ago to serve as farmland. And over the years that followed, farmers working this land found themselves puzzled by the odd-looking rocks they often came across. Rocks that bore obvious traces of human efforts to shape them. Some of these rocks resembled scoops and others looked like hatchets. What could they have been used for? Then there were the shards of pottery that made it even more difficult for the local farmers to plough their land. Every year at planting time, they had to first use rakes to remove the rocks and fragments of pottery, and even after years of clearing them, there always seemed to be more rising to the surface. Meanwhile, some of the locals were saying that there was treasure to be found at the site of this ancient city. This story originated with Li Zhenghuai, a resident of Wubu village. He stated that before the founding of New China, an ancestor of his had dug up several burlap bags filled with ancient coins. Nearly all the people in the area knew of this story. Before the founding of New China, within the bounds of the ancient city, Li Zhenghuai's ancestor had owned a plot of land that his family farmed. One spring, while ploughing the fields, one of the family's workers had dug up several pieces of iron black with corrosion. He felt it strange that pieces of iron could grow in the ground in this way. When he finished his work for the day, he took one of the pieces of iron to his employer in the village. After examining it for some time, the landowner then threw it into the corner of the room, saying, "What's so strange about a black rock? But since that plot is so hard to plough, why don't you take a few days off and go to the fair in the village and have a good time?" When he heard this, the worker was very happy. He thanked his employer profusely before leaving that evening to return to his village. However, after his worker left that night, Li Zhenghuai's ancestor returned with his two sons to the place where the worker had found the black stone. They had come to carry out a little digging of their own. After working through the night, they uncovered a number of bags of ancient coins. After that, it is said, the family quickly became rich, and Li Zhenghuai's ancestor was soon well known in all the surrounding villages for his wealth. Although the story about the wealth of the Li family dates to long ago, the passage of time never dimmed the hopes of the villagers that someday they too could become rich overnight by making some astonishing find. For this reason, the villagers maintained a keen interest in digging in the area in the hope of finding treasure. In fact, even large numbers of children could often be seen combing the area and dreaming of stumbling upon some great discovery. In October 1957, the situation attracted the attention of the staff of the Hebei Department of Cultural Relics, who then dispatched a team of archaeologists to investigate. The imminent arrival of the archaeologists only added to the air of mystery surrounding the ancient city, and the local people started murmuring about the people who had come to dig up the treasure. Almost overnight, news of the arrival of the archaeologists spread to all the surrounding villages, and people started turning up from all directions to see what would happen next. After surveying the area, the team of archaeologists decided upon several spots in the north, south, east and west corners from which to begin their dig. After more than a month of arduous digging, a number of implements used by the residents of the ancient city in their work and daily lives were unearthed. The work implements included stone sickles, stone rods for crushing grain, and stone pottery wheels. The daily use articles included pottery food containers and pottery jars. In the center of the site, in the remains of a building, the archaeologists discovered a wall about 20 centimeters thick made of rammed earth bricks. And in the northern part of the city, they discovered many brick fragments. Based on these discoveries, on November the 30th, 1957, the archaeology team published an article in People's Daily, and it shocked many archaeologists and historians. The title of this article was "Discovered in the Tell of Huangdi's City." Judging from the cultural relics, the experts had concluded that the site might be that of the ancient city known in historical records as Zhuolu and called by the locals Huangdi's City, or the City of the Yellow Emperor.
According to legend, the walled city of Zhuolu was Huangdi's capital. Now, if this were true, then it could logically be concluded that the place historians had long been searching for had been found, the place where Chinese civilization originated.
According to historical records, about 5,000 years ago, as the population on the Chinese continent was expanding, the various clans and tribes plundered each other's wealth and fought incessant wars. This was to expand their territories, but for the ordinary people, it spelled disaster. The ruler of the time, Huangdi, or Yan Emperor, was powerless to do anything about the situation. At the time, the tribe under Huangdi was on the rise, and in the struggle for supremacy, many princes came over to the side of Huangdi. However, Huangdi would not relent, and so the two large tribes, one under Huangdi, the other under Huangdi, fought for supremacy at a place called Banchuan. Finally, after 3 major battles, Huangdi defeated Huangdi, who was then forced to enter into an alliance with Huangdi. But there was also a third and even more powerful tribal group, the Dongyi group, whose leader was Chu Yo. According to tradition, Chu Yo was a brave and capable god of war. The tribe of Huangdi had been in conflict with the tribe of Chu Yo as the former had moved eastward, but following an intense battle, Huangdi had found himself unable to fight on and had escaped to the north with Chu Yo in hot pursuit. When Huangdi reached the Zhuolu area, he had no choice but to ask Huangdi for help. It was at this point that the Federation of Tribes under the two emperors engaged in a decisive battle with the army of Chu Yo in open country near the city of Zhuolu. The battle was long and intense, but Huangdi emerged victorious, capturing and killing Chu Yo in the open country of Hebei. This is the famous battle known in history as the Battle of Zhuolu. After this, Huangdi and the various princes gathered at Fushan Hill and there concluded an agreement. Huangdi built his capital at the foot of Zhuolu mountain, but with the passage of time, the only traces of Zhuolu could be found in historical records, and the location of Zhuolu went on to remain a mystery for thousands of years. Even the question of whether the Battle of Banquan and the Battle of Zhuolu had ever taken place would be endlessly debated among historians.
板犬之战和涿鹿之战是中国历史上两次非常重要的战争，这两场战争规模很大，这两场战争结束了中国历史上士族林立的这么一个局面，开始了走向民族融合。所谓上下5000年的中国文明史，就是从黄帝之战开始拉开序幕了。
Beginning in the 1990s, Fang Lijong visited Zhuolu on a number of occasions to carry out on-site inspections for his signature work, The Theory of War. After many years studying the problem, he came to the firm conclusion that Huangdi had established his capital at Zhuolu, and that the Battle of Banquan and the Battle of Zhuolu were actual events that had far-reaching consequences.
一直到春秋战国以前，这都挺讲究。
最晚的是什么时候？
最晚到春秋战国了。
汉朝有吗？
汉朝最晚2000多年。
这好了。
涿鹿大战是历史上一个真实的一个战例。我们在编军事史的时候，就把这个战例作为中国历史上第一个大战。你看咱们这儿到处都是彩陶，夹沙彩陶就6、7千年以前的，有些甚至上万年的，随便找个东西就3000年、5000年的东西。那么咱们这儿就是这个中华文明的一个发祥地之一，当然我们也不能说是皇帝就是在这儿待着没到别处去，咱们也不能这么狭隘。这个率土之滨莫非王土，都是当时皇帝这个统领的土地啊，所以这个皇帝可能活动在好多地方，活动到很大一个范围，但这块一定是皇帝打仗那个地方，这个司马迁绝不会说错的。
According to the records of the great historian Sima Qian, the scope and power of Huangdi, or the Yellow Emperor, extended eastward to the East Sea, westward to the Gansu area, southward to Jianghuai, and northward to the vast grasslands of Inner Mongolia. Zhuolu was the center of this domain, and so Zhuolu has always been regarded throughout history as one of the birthplaces of the Chinese nation. But just where are these places that appear in the historical record? Where was Huangdi's capital, and where is Fushan Hill, the place where the Great Alliance was formed? What about Zhuolu and Banquan? Is today's Zhuolu County the site of the Zhuolu mentioned in Sima Qian's historical record? In the 1980s, Wang Beichen, then a professor at Peking University, went to Zhuolu County a number of times to carry out investigations in an attempt to clear up the mystery of Huangdi, Huangdi, and Chu Yo. Following clues in the historical record, he was looking for historical sites related to these three individuals. Mr. Wang has since passed away, but his paper Investigation of Zhuolu, Banquan and Fushan provides us with a number of important clues. After reading a large number of historical accounts, Professor Wang Beichen was able to determine that during the Han Dynasty there was only one Zhuolu County in the whole country, and that it was located in Huangdi Prefecture in today's Hebei Province. Today, Huangdi Prefecture is known as Xuanhua County, and it is just 40 kilometers from today's Zhuolu County. Significantly, during the Warring States period, Huangdi, which has a long history, was under the jurisdiction of the state of Yan. After Emperor Qin Shi Huang gained control over the 6 states, he retained Huangdi, and the Han Dynasty determined to follow the administrative system of the Qin Dynasty.
著名学者、北大的博士生导师王北成教授他认为，既然在汉代以前，全国只有一个涿鹿县，那么作为汉代的史官司马迁呢，他考察的就应该是上古郡的涿鹿县。而司马迁为了撰写《史记·武帝本纪》，他曾经北过涿鹿，专门对涿鹿进行了考察，这个在《史记》上都有明确的记载。
When Professor Wang Beichen carried out his investigations in Zhuolu, he was accompanied by Zhao Yuda, former head of the Cultural Bureau of Zhuolu County. Zhao Yuda investigated the mystery of Yandi, Huangdi and Churyou for more than a dozen years, and he very much appreciated and agreed with the academic viewpoint taken by Professor Wang.
王北成教授根据汉代上古郡所辖的几个县的分析他认为汉代的涿鹿县就位于今天的涿鹿县的东南方向30公里的樊山镇的三堡村，也就是当地人称为古城的地方。而今天的涿鹿县呢，在汉代也称为下洛县，但是这两个县在当时都归上古郡管辖的。
In his book of rivers, Li Daoyuan, a geographer who lived during the Northern Wei dynasty, reviewed many ancient records and, based on the position of mountains, streams, lakes and roads, was able to more accurately pinpoint the places where Huangdi, the Yellow Emperor, was recorded as being active. In the 13th volume of his work concerning the Luo River, Li Daoyuan states that the Zhuo Shui River originates in Zhuolu Mountain, travels in a northeasterly direction, and passes through the southern part of the ancient city in Zhuolu County. He adds that Huangdi fought with Churyou in the open country near Zhuolu and set up his capital at the foot of Zhuolu Mountain. Further, he states that the Zhuo Shui River runs east to join with the Banchuan River, then turns northwest to flow into the Luo Shui River. The Luo Shui River is now known as the Sangan River. In the early 1980s, Professor Wang Beichen made a number of trips to Zhuolu to carry out on-site inspections in connection with the historical information provided in Book of Rivers. Through his investigations, he discovered that although some place names of the past had changed, the names of the water systems and mountain streams had remained essentially unchanged. He then marked the layout of the local water systems and the ancient sites on a modern topographical map.
王北成教授经过多年的研究考证实地考察，根据山川水道的位置，确认位于涿鹿县樊山镇三堡村这座古城就是史书上记载的涿鹿古城，也就是黄帝城。
However, some experts were of a different opinion. They pointed out that the ancient city of Zhuolu was not mentioned in historical records for a period spanning 2,000 years, from the time of Huangdi until the spring and autumn period, when it was suddenly referred to in bamboo annals in the year 320 BC.
However, there was one major problem with the assumption that the ancient city of Zhuolu was Huangdi's city. For thousands of years after Huangdi's time, it was not mentioned as such in historical records.
According to Bamboo Annals, in the year 320 BC, the state of Yan attacked the state of Zhao, surrounding Zhuolu. In response, Wu Lingwang, the king of Zhao, personally led a large force to Zhuolu to save the day. The Zhuolu mentioned here is the Han Dynasty Zhuolu County in Shanggu Prefecture, and this is the first time the name Zhuolu appears since the emergence of written records. Sima Qian's historical records biographic sketches of 5 emperors was written in 91 BC, in other words, nearly 3,000 years after Huangdi lived. What might have happened to Zhuolu as a place name during this long stretch of time? And how can we be sure this ancient city is Huangdi's city? There is, of course, only one scientific way to answer these questions, and that is through the discovery of further archaeological artifacts. In March 1997, the Hebei Provincial Cultural Relics Bureau sent a team from the Hebei Cultural Relics Research Office to Zhuolu to carry out another archaeological exploration of the ancient city in response to a request from 31 delegates to the National People's Congress. The team was headed by Li Jun.
当时啊，我带了10几个人进入现场以后，首先在当地做了一些走访和调查。当地的老百姓啊，对于这座古城是非常崇敬的，他们都说啊，这就是皇帝城。还有不少人呢，就从这个古城里边呢，捡到了一些瓦片、瓦罐，还有这个石斧、石铲之类的东西。但是我们看后啊，却发现呢，大多数是这个战国和秦汉时候的东西。这样的话呢，我看到以后呢，我就感觉到压力非常大。
Historical records and the legends of the local people, as well as the 1957 archaeological exploration, all led archaeologists to believe that Zhuolu was indeed the ancient city known as Huangdi's city. But Li Jun was worried about what he was going to do if his team failed to turn up any relics from the time of Huangdi.
我搞了这么多年考古啊，从来没有像这一次任务这么明确。这几乎是在完成一项政治任务，这就使我感觉到责任重大。
This being the case, Li Jun began his work to accomplish this important mission with some trepidation. He divided his team into several smaller groups, sending one group to explore outside the perimeter and the others to carefully comb every inch inside the ancient city, including out-of-the-way nooks and crannies. After several days of work, they discovered that both the inside and outside of the ancient city had suffered serious damage due to the agricultural activities of the locals, and that, as a result, many valuable archaeological clues had been destroyed. Nevertheless, in less than 2 weeks, the team was able to uncover a number of important clues.
Historical records, local legends, and the 1957 archaeological exploration all referred to Zhuolu as the ancient city known as Huangdi's city. However, there remained one major flaw in this assumption. No relics dating from Huangdi's time had ever been found at the site. To Li Jun and his team, it was clear what they still had to do. But would they succeed in finding the conclusive evidence they were seeking? Thank you for staying with us on today's New Frontiers and tuning in again next time when we will bring you more about the exploration of Huangdi City. I'm Ji Xiaojun from CCTV International. Bye for now.